everybody. I'm hoping you all can hear me. I used to be able to see myself, but I can't now. In any event, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Chris Dito, and I am the Director of Career Development at the Graduate School of Management. Hopefully you are all following along with the Career Switchers webinar that is in front of you with the little light switch here. So first of all, before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much to many of the students who have contributed to the success of this happening here. I know there are lots of folks that are interested in switching their career, so I'm really excited to be able to bring this information to you today. And before we get started here, I did want you all to go around and share who's on the webinar with me right now. It's helpful for me to know who I'm dealing with, so if you could all go ahead and unmute yourselves right now. And if we could have those of you that are on the call just go ahead and say hello, what program you're in, if you're a current student or a graduate, what you're currently working in and what you want to get into, that would be super helpful. And Jason, if you want to come sit over here with me, we're going to go ahead and see if we can go ahead and call on the people that are on the webinar with us now, because it might facilitate us being able to go through the introductions. Before they were all lined up over here, can we do that? So hang on here so we can make this as easy as possible. We're just going to go ahead and call on some names. I know we've heard from Anuj. So Anuj, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Hi. So Anuj, if you've unmuted yourself, if you can go ahead and say hello and just let everybody know what program you're in, what you're interested in. How about Brandon?
Chris, hi, good afternoon. Brandon, I'm in the Sacramento part-time program. I'm going to be graduating in 3.5 weeks, but who's counting, right?
Right. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am currently in operations leadership, centralized operations support, and I'm looking at a number of fields, including finance, consulting, or other organizations in centralized ops or leadership.
Got it? Okay, let's go on to Anuj. Are you on the call? Can we hear from you?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I'm part of UC Davis San Ramon program, Bay Area program. And I still have one more quarter to go.
Got it.
And right now I'm consulting at Apple, and I'm mostly on the technical aspects of the business. And my objective is to switch on the business side.
Great. How about Coral? Can we hear from you?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Coral. I'm a third-year Bay Area student from Bay Area campus, and I'm currently a volunteer for a nonprofit organization called Watermark. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know them. Great organization. Yay. Pro women in leadership, etc.
Yeah, and I'll graduate by fall, and I'm looking for jobs now.
Great. Okay. And can we hear from Derek? Hi, Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek. I'm a third year in the San Ramon program.
So
I graduate in September. That's the plan anyway. I'm at Genentech now, and I'm sort of in the same situation as Anuj is in.
Got it. Okay. How about Ijlal Husan? I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, and I'm sorry. Hi. IJLAL. Maybe that person isn't logged on or haven't unmuted. How about Joanne?
Joanne's here.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. If you could just say which program you're in and what you're in now, what you want to get into.
My name is Joanne. I'm second year, part of Sacramento program.
Yep.
I'm a software developer. I do not know what I want to get into.
Got it. Okay. I like that. Jayant? Hello, Jayant. Are you on the call? Okay. How about Sonia?
Hi, I'm Sonia Dieterich. I'm in the Sacramento part-time program. I'm currently faculty in the medical school, and I'm looking to move into the healthcare a healthcare leadership position, either in the dean's office or hospital management.
Got it. Okay. Who have I missed? Have we said hello to Kim? Kim, are you on the call?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Kim.
I'm a first year. I'm in the Bay Area program in San Ramon. Right now, I am in HR operations and people operations.
Okay.
Open to exploring new things. I'm not really sure where to go.
Got it. Wonderful. Thank you. What about Peter?
Hello.
Hi, Peter.
Hello. I used to be business and finance and a business manager. Transitioning to right now into different areas, but one option is cybersecurity.
Got it.
So considering many options right now.
Okay, gotcha. And I'm trying to figure out who I've not heard from. Stefan? Have we heard from you?
I don't think so. Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I am Stefan Bergman, first year student in the Bay Area program. I'm at a coffee shop right now, so you might hear ABBA behind me.
Okay, and when we're done with this, if you could go ahead and just mute, that would be helpful.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Anyway, just interested in learning more about what opportunities are out there.
Got it, got it, got it, got it. Okay, and then if I think we've heard from everybody, unless I'm missing anybody. Anybody else need to introduce and say hello?
Hey, Carol. So you haven't covered me yet.
Oh, hi.
Hey, second year Bay Area, looking to graduate in September.
Great.
I'm in technology and trying to explore what's out there.
Great. Have we heard from everybody else?
Hey, Chris, this is
Hey.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Why don't we let the females speak, whoever's talking now? Hi.
Hey, Chris, this is Smita Madam. I'm from Bay Area program, San Ramon.
Got it.
Thank you for organizing this event. And I currently work as the technical lead for Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And I'm looking to transition from software development to product management and eventually into marketing.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. And have we heard from everybody else? Are we missing anybody?
Missing me.
Hey, hi.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, someone is talking.
Let's hear from Tiffany
go ahead,
first, and then we'll go to the guy. So Tiffany, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in the library, so I'm a little quiet, but I'm a first year Bay Area student, and I'm currently not working, but my background is in marketing analytics, and I'm looking into project management or product management roles in the entertainment industry.
Got it. Okay. And then who was going to talk a second ago? Go ahead.
Hi, this is Satya from Bay Area first year. I just want to know how things are joined in. I'm right now in an engineering department, and I'm on a move to marketing and entrepreneurship. So that's me.
Super.
Thanks.
Okay. Am I missing anybody else? Did we get everybody? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start with our webinar then. Thank you. One sec here while we get this ready. All right, here we go. So again, I'm Chris Dito. I'm super excited to be on the call with all of you. As you know, I'm the Director of Career Development here at the GSM. I physically sit in Davis, but I travel to San Ramon and Sacramento quite a bit. So I am merely an email or a text away. Anytime anybody wants to get a hold of me, I am accessible to any of you, anytime, anywhere. I prefer communicating via text versus email because I can be much more responsive in a timely fashion. So needless to say, I am here to help all of you, and I'm excited to get this started here. So with regard to switching your career, what I want you all to think about here, first and foremost, is what you should consider to increase your career switch success. Because really success is what we're all after here, right? So before we jump into that, I want you to think about the career development process. I'm not sure if any of you are aware of this, but my background is that I've worked at the university for years, but prior to that, I got my master's degree in career counseling. So I'm theoretically very well educated to help people through the career development process, and I wanted to get into the theoretical nature of that just for a minute. And what that means is, can we hide that? I want you all to know that you should have, what we're looking for here is increased self-awareness plus increased occupational awareness equals better career-based decisions. And what that means specifically is You want to know your own skills, your values, your interests, and your abilities. And I know we all think we know those types of things, but everybody should be able to articulate those when they're formulating their story for employers when you're looking to switch. So knowing yourself is critical in the process, and then knowing what's going on in the world of the occupational space. So what is your current industry? What is your aspirational industry? What are some consistent areas of employment? Where can you always find work, just to make sure everybody's aware of that? Who is hiring now? How do we stay current with all of that occupational awareness? What does success look like in the field that you hope to get into? And then are you following emerging fields or trends? We all are aware of emerging fields or trends. What those are right now, I think we can safely say artificial intelligence, drones, e-commerce, moving all the goods and services around. So everybody should have an awareness of what's going on in terms of emerging fields. The goal here is for you all to make better career-based decisions because you know yourself and you know the world of work, and your goal would be to have a career that's a natural extension of your personality. So when you get up in the morning, you're excited to go to work, you feel energized, you're ready to tackle the day, and it's almost as if when Monday comes around, you can't wait to get back into the office. That would be a career that's a natural extension of your personality. Are all of us there right now? Not always, but it should feel like you're moving in that direction. So I want everyone to have some reverence for this moment here of knowing yourself and then knowing what you want in terms of a career. Moving on to thinking about what is the impetus for your career switch. It's very helpful for me to know that when I'm working with students here. First off, if you want more money, if that's why you're looking to find a new career, we might be able to help you move up where you currently are. So I want people to understand what is the impetus for the switch. Moving on, are you looking for more life balance, or are you looking to align your work with your passion? When I know you're looking for life balance and you're aligning work with your passion, I realize that you're going to be highly motivated to make that happen. And what I'm looking for people that can articulate that motivation and you're willing to work in order to make that happen for yourself. The other thing that I would like to comment on here is that while I've been working in the MBA space, getting an MBA by nature is automatically putting most folks into a career switching capacity. But the MBA degree in and of itself may or may not make you more marketable. It's what you do with that degree and how you can articulate what you've learned and how it's helped you grow and how you're telling your story in the process and how you can weave the tale that makes you a more compelling candidate. So everybody should be aware of that. What I have found in working in this position for 5 years now is that a lot of times students want to be perfect and precise when they're looking for the switch and like, I'm not ready to move yet. There's really never going to be a right time. There is no precision in the job search process. It's just a series of getting closer and closer to the end game, and that happens slowly and carefully. So I want to make sure everybody understands that the process is pretty messy, and it's going to feel like I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. So I just want to state that outright here. There will be some messiness involved, and that's why we're all on this webinar together, so we can keep checking in with one another throughout the process. I also think it's important for people to be aware of what are you prepared to give up if you're making this switch. If you're going from one completely different industry to another, sometimes you may be giving up some monetary, your salary may drop a bit, you may lose the title or stature or professional credibility. If you're completely leaving a field, you're not going to have the same reputation like you'd had. I'm not suggesting that's a bad thing, but I want people to have their eyes wide open when you're going through this process here. Moving on to what you should do before you quit your day job, if you have that luxury. So for those of you that are thinking about switching, I want to go over some real, tangible, obvious things that you can do before you switch. First and foremost, it's to link up with professional colleagues. I believe that most people associate LinkedIn with looking for a job, and that's not the case any longer. If you're linking in with people, it means that you could just be cataloging your contacts. It doesn't have to mean that you want to switch. When you're linking in with folks, you want to make sure you're always adding a personalized note. You don't want to just link in with someone for the sake of linking because they have no context for how they know you or why they should say yes to your LinkedIn request. I also want to make sure that when you're linking in with folks, your LinkedIn is at a level that is worthy of someone looking at it. So if you're looking to switch industries or make sure you are professionally relevant and that you're a seeker and or you're just really like aware of your stature out in the professional sense, your LinkedIn should be at an A+ level. Everything about it should look spot on, and I should be able to look at that and go, wow, that's an amazing LinkedIn profile. You don't have to redo your LinkedIn profile. If your resume is strong, you lift the contents of your resume into your LinkedIn profile, and then it speaks volumes about your candidacy. I think it's also important to know if you're switching and you want to quit your day job because you've just had it, you should figure out what is going to be your backup job to generate income. And then you want to think about how do you network along the way and think about some strategic volunteering. I think that is a very, very viable option for people, especially if you're stretching yourself and you're not exactly sure what you want to do. Thinking about who can you network now, and the strategic volunteering piece is very, very critical. Moving on to self-care during the switch process. So I'm going to go over some really obvious things, which is when you're switching, like you're getting your MBA degree, it's a stressful time. You're maxed out, you're in school, you've got family, several of you, there's just a lot going on. So these are things that you should be paying attention to. Are you exercising to keep your stress at bay? Are you meditating? Are you taking a moment for yourself, even if it's while you're driving in the car, just to drive in silence, to have a moment to yourself? Are you engaging in positive visualizations where you're walking into a room and you're commanding an audience and you're shaking hands and you're feeling like you're bringing your very best self to work and school every day? Are you engaging in a healthy diet? Are you getting enough sleep? You want to think about surrounding yourself with positive people. We all know those folks that just drain us. You need to think about how are you going to be selective about the people that are going to help you during this process. And know that the process is a timely process. It's a marathon, not a sprint, which means people talk about, well, I should have a 30-day plan and a 60-day plan and a 90-day plan. All of that is well and good, but at the end of 90 days, it doesn't mean you have actualized your switch. So I want to be careful of putting a time limit on the switch process, because it could take a lot less time or a lot more time than you think. And I think everybody needs to be aware of that. When you're in the job search process, it's always slower than you think. Now, all of the things that I'm stating, everybody should be engaging in every day, right? So this could go with not just the switch process, but life process. You should be aware of your self-care. And I realize you're thinking, this is not switch savvy, Chris. This is just life savviness. But I think it's important just to say balance in the process. We can always be aware when we're around someone that's just sort of spewing negative energy. You want to be your most positive self when you're going through this process. Moving on to understanding that career development at the GSM is like a toolbox. And I think it's very important for everyone to understand that the process is not a linear process between all of us here. It's going to be, you're going to engage with us for whatever matters to you in the moment and whatever feels good and is accessible to you when you need it. So there will be tools that all of you will use. You will not use them all simultaneously, but I wanted to go over what some of the tools are. So within the GSM toolbox, I want to say first and foremost, we have a career leader assessment that is like the equivalent of the Strengths Finder for Gallup, where it's going to go over your skills, values, interests, abilities, and it's really going to help you figure out the macro sense of what you would like to be doing. There's a 360 feedback component, and if you're interested in taking the career leader assessment, email me. I will get you set up with Angel McCormick on our team. She's the one that helps students administer that, and it's a matter of you just requesting that, and we can start that immediately. Also within the GSM toolbox, everybody should have an A+ resume. You should have a very strong LinkedIn profile. We're able to provide feedback and make recommendations on both of those documents. The next toolbox item that I want to discuss is meetup participation. I'm involved in a meetup listserv for meetups related to entrepreneurship, innovation, and business. I get calendar events and awareness of meetups that are happening both in the Sacramento area as well as the San Francisco area. So if you know you want to get into a different line of work, figure out where are the meetups, where are they happening, and get that scheduled. Now you're going to feel like, ooh, do I go to a meetup because I don't exactly know what I'm doing? Yes, you do. You want to make sure you're getting in front of people that are actualizing in the area or industry that you would like to get into. The next thing is discussing and setting goals. We're not going to require that you set goals with our team, but it can be very, very helpful for you to talk with someone about, this is what I want to do. What do you recommend for me? Maybe it's very small recommendations. Maybe it's a lot of recommendations, but needless to say, we have found that it's very, very helpful for students to have a goal-setting exercise if you so desire. So I want to make sure everybody's aware that we can do that with you. The next thing is a mock interview. We engage with mock interviews all the time when students are interested in preparing for an interview, when they know what they want to do. You don't even have to do a mock interview for a job. You can just do a mock interview to go over your story, to talk about what it is that you're doing. Stand by one sec. Do you want to check email just in case someone's having a hard time logging in? Yeah, sorry everybody. Jason and I are here. I want to make sure there aren't students that maybe are trying to log in that can't get in here. Needless to say, back to the next steps in the toolbox. I want to make sure everybody's aware that Toastmasters exists. Toastmasters is a professional speaking organization. I recommend several students get involved in that almost universally. I did Toastmasters years ago, and everybody can improve on their public speaking skills. That will serve you well in an interview, in conversations, and it just helps everybody articulate their story more effectively. Moving on to the next toolbox would be LinkedIn contacts. Again, everybody should be populating their LinkedIn database now before you meet someone, because it's just helpful. And you want to make sure you're genuine in how you send a personalized note. And then you're aware that LinkedIn is a way for you just to stay in touch with folks. Next on the toolbox is fine-tuning your story. One of the things that I will recommend that everybody listen to is there's a career refresh webinar that I'm listing at the end here as a link. And your story should not sound pitchy. It's your story, it's your life, but everybody should be able to articulate, why are you making the switch? Why are you getting your MBA? And it shouldn't be like, well, I want more money. I mean, it's got to resonate with your audience, and it should speak to your vision and your passion and for why you want to get into this next space here. So I do want everybody to understand that fine-tuning your story is something that everybody should be paying attention to. Then we move into EQ development. EQ relates to your emotional intelligence versus just your intelligence quotient. And your emotional intelligence are more of the soft skills. And I think it's very important for people to understand how powerful EQ is in the process. A lot of times companies will say, we want to make sure they're a culture fit, which means they want to make sure you're likable. And in order to get hired, there has to be some rapport development in the moment in an interview, and that is where EQ development comes into play. One of the things that we focus on in career development with regard to EQ is talking about your fixed versus your growth mindset. And the folks that have a growth mindset happen to be more successful. So everyone should be aware of, how are we assessing our fixed mindset, like I only want to do this, or I'm open to the possibilities. And it's a matter of keeping your mindset more nimble. And the last thing I wanted to recommend are informational interviews. Who is in the field that you want to get into? How have you found that person on LinkedIn? How do you reach out? And how do you actualize having a conversation with someone, not over email, but in person? Because the personal relationships matter. The people are going to help you the most in this journey of this career switch success. Moving on to some students. Here are some students that were successful in the career switch journey. So I have listed 8 different people here. Anuj went from a digital marketer background. He got into project development and product management, and he did it slowly and carefully. He went to every event that we had here at the GSM. He was tenacious in how he sought out contacts within his field. He was unrelenting, as are all the students, and everybody was anxious in the process. Amanda Gatman was a San Ramon student. She was making a leap into a new finance area. She had a very strong background at Safeway, and again, she was engaged all the time, meeting with people and really seeking out the advice of others. Robin Greenspan is a current student. He's a graduating second-year student up here in Davis. He had a restaurant background and then transitioned into finance. He met with folks all over the place. He was shaking hands, meeting people in all 3 different programs, because all of the people that are currently in the program can help actualize your career switch success. Mackenzie came in with a banking background, and then she moved into athletics. She's currently working at Athleta. This is just a sampling of the people and what they've done and how they've gone from one industry completely to a new one. Betty has a banking background. She's now in startup finance in downtown San Francisco. It was a big leap. Stefan went from account manager position in sales into sustainability. Jesse Bolton went from a military background into investment banking. And then Shrige went from having several different degrees in engineering to product management at PG&E. And again, all the folks were tenacious and they're looking, and they had strong communication with our team so we could help them with touch points. So when you realize that you're inching towards a new area, letting everybody know what that area may be would be very, very helpful. And if you're not sure, I'm going to recommend a lot of different resources for you here. So let me kind of get into some of the resources. Here's a sampling of the books. You don't need to write these down. I'm going to keep going through these. The first book that I'm looking at here is a book called FYI, which is For Your Improvement. It really gets into the Lominger's 67 competencies. I'm drawn to this book because I think it's very helpful for people to look at the business acumen vocabulary that's listed. All the 67 competencies are a very long list for people just to get into the game of telling their powerful story and why you're interested in the switch. And it just helps people up their verbal acuity when they're actually looking to switch their career. The next book, again, you don't have to read these books. I'm merely putting them out here. Some people learn by reading, others learn by doing and meeting people. I'm just giving lots of different modalities that I think may help the process. And again, this is going to be different for every single person. The next book that I'm looking at here is Designing Your Life, which talks about, first and foremost, your design thinking mindset. So we're looking at curiosity, which is, are you interested in exploration, being open, looking for opportunities? Your bias to action and realizing that there is no perfect job. Not everything is going to hit all of our success factors when we're looking for a job. You're going to build your own way with that. Thinking about reframing problems. So how can you reframe those to say, like, I'm going to look at this from a different viewpoint? Getting into your awareness, which is finding your way, which is focusing on the process and being aware that it's a journey. It's not going to be a race. And then thinking about radical collaboration. So getting in the space of other people and understanding that all of those people can help you along the way. Moving on to another book that we are touching on, which is The New Rules of Work. And this talks about understanding your value system. And I think it's important for people to understand, rather than saying, I really want to work at Facebook, it's very helpful for you to deliver your story of why you want an industry or a said company based on how they align with your values. And that's where I want to get into people understanding what does drive your value statement of wanting a different industry or a company, like social change, contributing to the society at large, your ability to provide service, which is directly helping individuals, influence, decision-making, ethics, community. Again, looking at your values and how they relate to your career process and your career-driven journey can be very powerful. Moving on to your reward, are you looking for acknowledgement, receiving public acknowledgement? Are you looking for compensation? Do you want to make more money? Are you driven by security, which is having a more secure employment setting? Or prestige, your title, your role, the company, etc. And then moving into your value proposition relating to challenge. Are you looking for expertise? Are you looking to have some mastery in the field, or looking for creativity? Looking for competition where you're beating other people daily? Risk-taking, how much do you want to be taking risks and have a sense of adventure at work? Thrill, which is having a sense of excitement on a regular basis, or physical engagement, being physically active and using physical skills. Now, I'm assuming everybody has thought about their values to a certain degree, but getting in the weeds with your values and how they're driving this career switch may be very, very helpful and can be very powerful. So I just want to make sure everybody realizes, again, telling your story about why you're getting your MBA and then why you're interested in this switch can be very compelling. Next, a book that we touch on is called The Charisma Myth, which is really how you come across to others. One of the things that this book talks about is your ability to up your charisma. And that means your power, your focus, your presence, and all of that can be learned. Apparently I need to raise my head. So how's that? There we go. Hello. Needless to say, I have delivered a presentation on this whole fact, which is upping your charisma. And on the Career Readiness webinar, I touch on some of the charisma pieces. And I think there are some real low impact ways for people to up their charisma, which I think is helpful dealing with people's self-confidence, because the career switching process gets into feeling good about yourself and like, yes, I can do this. And it's really this self-actualized philosophy. So I want to make sure people feel like they're as charismatic as they can possibly be in the process. Moving on to some considerations here. So I know this goes without saying, but I'm going to go over some really important considerations for everybody, and that is formal training, if you're going to go into a new area, is helpful, of course, but it's not a deal breaker if you don't have formal training. So I want people to figure out how you can position your transferable skills to make your background worthy of this career switch process. And that's really getting into the weeds about what you would like to say about yourself in the process. So I want people to understand that everybody's background is going to be competitive and valuable, and it's how we position that to relate to this next career switch and how we can make sure the transferable nature of the skill set is on your documents, both your resume and in your LinkedIn profile, and then how you tell that story when you're actually in an interview. Then moving on into do your research, do your homework, and explore your options. But what I would like to say with that is don't get lost in the data. I want you to listen to your instincts and remember that people are always the best resource. We're starting a Master's in Business Analytics program. We're a business school. Data is extraordinarily important. However, in the search process, you can do so much homework on what it is you want to do that you eventually need to start engaging with people. And that's where I want people to start being aware. The getting in front of people is going to be the most helpful, because people help people rather than staying locked in your computer and just applying and just looking for, I don't know what to do. Talk to people, and it can be very, very helpful. And that starts with all of us on this webinar, as well as talking to the career development team, so we can get you connected with people that we know are in your industry. Your journey will be very unique. So I know some people are like, well, this is what I did and it was really successful. And then people are thinking, oh, I've got to go ahead and try that because that worked for them. It is going to be very different for each and every person. And I want everyone to understand that you don't want to emulate someone else's path. You want to chart your own course. And that means engaging when you can, when you have time. If you're getting your MBA and you're already working, there's not a lot of extra time to do this switch. So let's think about what are some ways that you can get a little closer to the end game, whatever that may be, while you're currently in school and trying to do your impact project, etc. So I want to be aware of all of the competing factors for your time and attention, because we don't want to add this on as one more thing that's going to stress you out. So again, talking to people about what it is that you want to do can be very, very helpful just to brainstorm. When you feel lost, I want everybody to regroup and breathe. Whatever you do, I don't want anybody to get so frustrated like, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing any longer. Talk to us. That's what we're here for. We have seen so many students go through this process. It's like thousands at this point. So the historical nature of this is that people do decide to switch and it all works out. It's just going to be a very different, unique process for everybody. Check in with people in person or on the phone. I have a lot of students that are like, oh yeah, I reached out and we're communicating. Like, how are you communicating? I'm communicating via email. I think when you can, to the best of your ability, getting in front of other people is the most helpful situation that you can do for your own professional sense of self, as well as when you're in the switch process, because you actually develop a relationship outside just the switch conversation, but getting to know people, and people are your best resource. So I would calendar check-ins with other folks, whoever they may be, whether they seem necessary or not. I would say I'm going to check in with 2 people a month, put them on my calendar so you know you're still checking in with whoever it is. It can be an ongoing call with this group here. It could be someone in career development. You determine who that check-in is with, but I would encourage regularized scheduled check-ins. Know what you want. I think everybody should have an aspirational goal. What is it that you want? But have an open mindset. That gets to the growth mindset factor. Stuff may come up along the way. You may go, I hadn't realized, but I'm really drawn to this now. So let the process evolve and take shape and have focus, but be open to interpretations of your vision along the way. And then last but not least, connect with all your professors. I know that sounds just patently obvious, but a lot of students don't. Our professors are extraordinarily well connected. They're all over the place in industry. They know people everywhere, and they are as committed to your success as you are to your own. So I want to make sure that our students realize that professors can be extraordinarily helpful. Not necessarily that they have this big Rolodex and they're going to give you all their contacts, although some of them can do that. It's more of just talking to them about what they know, because they have been professors helping students along this career switch journey along the way. So make sure you're connecting with your professors, and that is as easy as just develop a relationship with them. Get to class a little early and say hello so they can get to know you as people. Moving on to, bless you, a podcast that I want to recommend. This gentleman by the name of Joseph Liu is an amazing career launch speaker. I have been following his podcast for about 2 weeks now. He came to me from my coworker Elizabeth Moon, who heard him speaking. He has a whole podcast called Career Relaunch. He interviews all of these people that have gone through the career relaunching space, and it is so well done and good, and it talks about the angst and the hesitation and the fear and the success and everything else that goes along with that. It just so happens that this podcaster is coming to San Francisco on Thursday, June 1st. Our whole career development team is going because I want to meet this person. I'm totally impressed with him. I really want to recommend all of you go. It's put on by General Assembly. It's free. I don't know if you can. You may have class, etc. But just know that this is happening next week. There are going to be a whole host of us from the GSM that are going to be there listening to him. If it doesn't work out for you, at least start listening to the podcast, because I have found them to be just riveting in terms of just great content, super professional, and he always has this mental space afterwards where he's making suggestions. It's super duper helpful. So please get into the podcast, share what you're learning with the rest of us so we can all help one another in this journey. This was one of the articles that came up after a podcast that I'd listened to. I think there's several things that I want you to know about this, which was, when do you actually have the strength to make this switch? This person, it was when he started making a lot of money, which for him was a 6-figure salary. It was very interesting because you think when you start making a lot of money, you're like, oh, I have arrived. And he was saying, I want to be wealthy in people and experiences, not wealthy in money. I'm not here to say what's going to work for everybody, but it was a very fascinating podcast and article. And I want everyone to know that Medium exists as a space to find content with relatedness to the career relaunch process. So that's where this article was listed, and it was a very, very fascinating article. Moving on to the last slide, which is career development touch points. I have listed a career refresh webinar. We will send an email to everybody that's on this call. So if you did not RSVP for this, if you could go ahead and email me, my email's coming next, so stand by, just saying, hey, Chris, I want to make sure I'm on additional calls. I would encourage all of you to look at the Career Refresh webinar that's listed as a link here. And then to the right, if you've not been to one of the Jumpstart Your Career sessions, either in San Ramon or Sacramento, I would encourage you to attend that. We used to call them Jumpstart Your MBA, but since we're starting our Masters in Business Analytics program, we've retitled them to Jumpstart Your Career. They're led either by Gavin or Roberto in San Ramon or Sacramento, respectively, and we go over your pitch, if you will, or your ability to tell your story. We go over LinkedIn, and we end with Steve Dalton's 2-Hour Job Search book. So it's just sort of how you sort of strategize your process with regard to your career launch, switch, etc. Then what I wanted to leave you with is the notion of this career switchers follow-up. We've all listened to this webinar together. I would love for all of us to have a webinar where we're all chiming in, asking questions. I can hear everybody's questions, and then we can touch in 1 month from now saying, how is everybody? What's everybody been doing? Who has had some success? Who is stuck? And we can all do it virtually. But I think it's very powerful to get in the space of other people that are trying to move the needle of switching in a successful direction and what that looks like. And I think learning from one another could be very, very powerful. So on that note, here is my information for you to send me an email saying, Chris, I want to connect with you to actualize this career switcher cohort that we've started here today if you're interested. No pressure. It's just more of a way to have all of us within this MBA space here at the GSM support one another along the journey. So now Jason's going to help me unmute you all and what have you, so you can all ask questions and whatnot. So I'm going to let him make that happen here. And 1 second. Okay, so who has a question for me?
When Jeff goes, like Jeff.
So guys, we've unmuted you all, so if you could be aware that if you've got a question, we can hear all of you. So how about if you unmute yourself, but if anybody has a question, there are 24 of you on the webinar now, so go ahead if you'd like to start asking questions, or you can do a group chat on the right here and I can answer your questions based on you typing them in if you would prefer that. But I'm open to questions, just wanting to figure out who would like to ask first. You have to unmute yourself if you're asking a question, by the way.
Hey, Chris, this is Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Take a stab at it. I've been, maybe this might sound naive because I haven't done much research. So if I found a job and I applied, and it's in the field that I'm interested in, I have a good background. So what's the like a typical time frame before the folks get back to you? I mean, do I have to give myself like a few months, or how does
I don't think a few months. I think it really depends. If it's an active position within the system and the company is actually hiring, you should hear back, I would say, between 2 and 4 weeks. There are some companies that have like postings where they just keep them active, but they're not necessarily hiring at that moment. They just keep the positions within their system. So that's where it's always helpful to know someone at the organization. If you can ask saying, hey, I've applied for this position, I'm super excited about it, just wanted to make you aware of my candidacy. If you had someone on the inside that could tell you like, oh yes, I have heard we're hiring for that right now.
Okay, thank you.
And then I had a question from a student saying, will the presentation be distributed? I'm happy to distribute to everybody. Other questions? So another question that I'm getting is, I hear a question about an MBA expiration date, as a new grad should find a new role, say 6 months after graduating. To what extent does this sound right? I would say it depends. So I do know that when students graduate on a traditional graduation cycle, which is in June, the marketplace is more saturated with new hires. There is no real expiration date, but I will say this. You should be leveraging your contacts and talking to folks if you're looking for a position sooner rather than later. So you want to be engaged with people before you need them so they know about your candidacy and they can say, hey, I understand you're graduating pretty soon here, Derek. What's going on with that? Or what have you. rather than saying like, I'm graduating, I'm super nervous. You know, you want to stay as calm and intentional as possible within that. And you want to be aware that like you're developing relationships along the way. One of the things that I talk about is making sure you're bringing your very best self to school, because all of the students that you're in classes with can pull you into their organizations. And I think many times students don't necessarily think about, they just kind of show up and they're like, whew, I'm exhausted, I'm here. I want to make sure that people are aware that you have the ability to promote your very best self when you show up to school, just like you do at work. So be aware of that, especially in these MBA programs, because all of your fellow students are all well employed, so they can help pull you in. Another question that I have here is, what are your recommendations for moving from product support to public health or public sector? Where do I start for networking? So I think that would be a sense where you would send an email to our team saying, hey, this is my resume, this is what I'm doing now, this is what I'd like to get into, and we can help position your background as it could relate to public health. And then I would want to hear your compelling story for why do you want to get into that space? Why does it resonate for you, and why are you excited about it? So I think that's going to be your story that people are going to go like, oh wow, they know a lot about that, or what have you. And then what classes can you take here if you want to get into that are going to help your candidacy while you're a student here at the GSM. So another recommendation here is, in addition to the books that I recommended, there's a book called Pivot that a student is reading now, and they're finding it very helpful. Great, the more the merrier. I'm also reading a book called Pause by Rachel O'Mara that talks about when you know you're like at max and why you need to take a break. I'm reading that book right now because I feel so many students are so stressed, and the job search is one more thing for them to do, which just adds more stress. And our goal is to, again, try to bring our very best self. So this book, Pause, is sort of helping me actualize how do I articulate the ability to take a step back for students to bring their very best self every day. I have another question here. There's a person that's starting an internship at an organization to their career switch. Do they recommend continuing to explore more internship to find the best fit? Internships, if you have the luxury, are the most low impact, dynamic way for you to get a bird's eye view of an organization. If you have the luxury of time and space to do an internship, I always recommend that. For several students, they don't have the luxury of doing an internship. So how can you figure out what's going on with organizations and figure out if this is going to be a right fit for me? And that's where you want to think about, can I do some volunteer work in the area that I think I want to get into? Can I go to meetups to find out about it? Can I read about company culture and information about different organizations, possibly through Glassdoor? So again, I would recommend engaging in as many internships as you possibly can if you have the luxury of being able to do that. Other questions here? So if you could RSVP or send me an email so we can gather all of you, and if you're interested in staying connected moving forward, it would be very, very helpful for us to continue on this conversation here where everyone can share their experiences. I'm not sure the distribution of Sacramento versus San Ramon students, but again, if we're all logging in online, we can all have a dynamic conversation about what's working best for each of us. And my recommendation would be to have this 1 month from now, where we can say, what has everybody been up to? What do you need help with? How can we help you along the way? Who can we get set up with Career Leader? Who's been reading some of the books? Who is engaged in meetups? And really just sharing some information about how they have been able to, in baby steps, actualize their career switch success. Other questions?
Chris, I have another question. Do you recommend reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn even if you don't have connections with them?
So the question is, do I recommend you linking in with recruiters on LinkedIn even if you don't have a connection with them? I do not necessarily recommend doing that. I would encourage you to figure out who are the companies you want and getting in that space where you can meet them and shake their hand and then actually link in with them on LinkedIn. I think it's a much more powerful connection when you meet someone in person. Their ability to endorse your candidacy if they've not met you is going to be less if they've never met you at all. Now, if you don't have the luxury of doing that, if they're across the globe and you're never going to meet them, then certainly, but you probably want to send a very detailed message on LinkedIn about why you're interested in linking in with them. And that is going to take some forethought. You don't want to just push like, let's link in, please add me as a professional contact. You need to say something to the effect of, I'm Tiffany, I'm a second-year student in San Ramon. I notice your background's in product management. It's the area that I'm super interested in getting involved in. I would love 10 minutes of your time to talk about that, or whatever the case may be. But you have to provide some context and structure for why they would want to say yes to your LinkedIn request.
Okay, thank you.
So my email address, everybody, is, I'm going to pull this down. Here's my email address so everyone can see that there. It's CADITO and then @ucdavis.edu. So let's see here. Any other questions here? You all know how to find me. My job is to help everybody through the process, and I understand that this is going to be a very, very personalized journey for everyone. So you let us know where in the toolbox you need help, how soon, with what, and we will help you get there. Our whole team is here to help each and every one of you. So please just let me know what it is you all need, and we will make sure we help you to the best of our ability. So thank you so much. Please go ahead and send me an email saying, yes, I'd like to be included in the forum if you're interested, so we can keep the conversation going amongst all parties that were on the call today.